The doorbell camera recorded someone inside the house. The night was still, unnaturally still, when Claire first noticed it. She had been scrolling through the videos on her new doorbell camera, the one she had installed just 2 weeks prior. The house had always been quiet, almost too quiet, nestled at the end of a cul-de-sac where the streetlights cast pale circles of orange on cracked asphalt. The kind of street that promised safety if you ignored the occasional distant siren or the rustling of trees in the wind. She was tired that night, her body aching from hours of moving boxes and assembling furniture. The faint hum of the refrigerator and the low whir of the air conditioning were the only sounds, and the soft glow from the living room lamp spilled across the floorboards. When she clicked on the video feed, she expected the usual: a stray cat, the neighbor's dog, or nothing at all. The video started normally. The front porch, bathed in the yellowish hue of the porch light, appeared empty. Then, at exactly 2:37 a.m., the camera caught a shadow, a brief flicker, at the edge of the frame. Claire frowned, leaning closer. The shadow moved with purpose, stepping into the frame slowly. At first, she thought it was a glitch, the familiar static blip that sometimes appeared on new cameras. But then the figure froze. It wasn't outside. It was standing just inside the doorway. The sliding glass door that led to the foyer was slightly ajar in the video, a subtle gap she knew she hadn't left open. The figure was dark, featureless in the dim light, yet unmistakably human in shape. It didn't move forward or backward. It simply stood there, watching. Then, without warning, it disappeared from the frame, and the video returned to normal. Claire's heart had started to race. She replayed the clip, slowing it down, checking for an angle or a reflection that might explain it. Nothing. No neighbor, no passerby, no stray animal. Just her empty house, and the sense that someone had been inside. She told herself it had to be a mistake. Cameras were sensitive and software often misread shadows, but the image burned in her mind. Something about the posture of the figure, the way it seemed almost casual, like it had been waiting, was wrong. The following day, Claire tried to go about her life normally. She double-checked locks, even though she was meticulous about security. The feeling of being watched, however, had settled over her like a cold draft. When she stepped into the kitchen, she noticed the back door was locked, but the latch had a small smear of dust that wasn't there before. It was subtle, easily dismissed, but her mind clung to it. By the second night, she was almost afraid to look at the camera. The motion alerts pinged her phone with routine notifications. Mail delivery, passing cars, a leaf skittering across the porch, but nothing unusual, until 2:14 a.m. The video showed the front door again, empty for the first few seconds. Then, slowly, the same figure appeared, but this time in more detail. Claire could make out a rough outline of clothing, a dark hoodie, jeans, and a slight hunch to the shoulders, as if someone was carrying something. The person moved quietly, deliberate, heading toward the living room. The camera angle didn't show the interior clearly beyond the doorway, but the sense of movement was undeniable. Claire called the police. They arrived quickly, flashlights cutting through the fog of the early morning. They searched the house from top to bottom, even bringing a K9 unit to sniff for intruders. Nothing. No signs of forced entry, no footprints, no misplaced objects. Her home was untouched. The officers offered the usual reassurances. Sometimes these cameras pick up reflections or shadows. Make sure your settings are correct, don't worry too much. But Claire didn't feel reassured. She decided to take matters into her own hands. That night, she set up her laptop in the living room, connected to the doorbell camera, and watched. She sat in the darkness, only the glow of the screen illuminating her face. The air felt thicker than usual, pressing against her chest in a way that made her nervous. Every creak of the floorboards in the empty house made her flinch. Hours passed. 1:58 a.m., 2:03 a.m., 2:10. Then, at 2:13, A faint noise. A soft thud like someone placing their hand on the wooden banister upstairs. Her stomach tightened. Claire's apartment was silent, except for the sound of her own breathing. She gripped the edge of the chair, eyes glued to the live feed. The camera blinked, and in that blink, she saw movement inside. Just for a second, a flash of dark clothing moving past the foyer. She froze, heart hammering. The figure was inside, not outside. The realization hit her fully. Whatever she had seen on the previous nights hadn't been a glitch. Someone, or something, was already in her house. Her mind raced. Was it a burglar? A stalker? Someone who had somehow entered without leaving any trace? She considered calling the police again, but the last visit had yielded nothing, and the idea of waiting, helpless, while an intruder roamed her house was unbearable. Instead, she decided to keep watching. Minutes dragged into hours, her eyes stinging from strain. Every slight shadow, every flicker of light made her jump. The house itself seemed alive. The old wooden floorboards groaned in ways that suggested someone had stepped there when no one had. The air smelled faintly of smoke, though the fireplace had been unused for months. Then, at 2:42 a.m., the figure returned, this time standing at the foot of the stairs leading to the second floor. It lingered for a long moment, almost as if considering something. Claire's hands shook as she zoomed in on the screen. The figure tilted its head slightly. That movement, casual and deliberate, felt impossible to mistake. It knew she was watching. She didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she imagined the figure standing in her hallway, just out of reach, silent and patient. She wondered if it had been there the entire time she was unpacking boxes filled with clothes and memories. The idea was suffocating. The following morning, she checked every entry point again. Doors, windows, vents, even the small crawl space in the basement. Nothing. Yet the feeling persisted. Her own home, a place that had always felt safe, had become alien. Every corner seemed to hide secrets. Every shadow seemed to breathe. Days passed, each night worse than the last. The figure appeared on the doorbell feed with maddening irregularity. Sometimes it lingered in the foyer. Other times it was in the kitchen or upstairs near her bedroom door. Each time, no matter how clearly she watched, she could never get a complete look at its face. Her cameras captured nothing beyond its general shape, a dark silhouette against her living space. Then came the noises, not captured on camera, subtle, almost imperceptible. The quiet scuff of footsteps, the soft scrape of a chair being moved, a faint exhale of air that wasn't her own. She would wake in the middle of the night, convinced she had imagined it, only to check the cameras and see the figure somewhere else entirely. Her friends urged her to leave, but Claire felt trapped by curiosity as much as by fear. She needed to know. She started recording herself at night, setting her phone to capture any movement beyond the camera's reach. When she reviewed the footage, she saw what she had dreaded. Shadows shifting unnaturally. Objects slightly moved from their original places. Small, almost insignificant details, but enough to convince her that she was not imagining anything. One night, the doorbell camera recorded something different. The figure was closer, almost within reach of the lens. The hoodie obscured the face, but something in its posture had changed. It was no longer tentative, no longer lurking. It was confident, as if it had decided that it belonged there. It moved toward the stairs, and for a fraction of a second, it glanced directly at the camera. In that instant, Claire noticed something she had never expected. The figure's reflection in the small glass pane next to the front door. And in that reflection, she saw her own eyes staring back at her. The eyes of the figure were hers. Her hands dropped the phone. She stepped back, stumbling over the rug in the hallway. Her heart raced, the room spinning. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Then, A sound, a soft whisper, almost a sigh, echoed from the living room. Not through the speakers, not recorded by the camera. Right there, in the silence of her own home. Claire ran. She didn't stop until she was outside, the cold night air burning her lungs. Her neighbors watched from a distance, puzzled as she pounded on doors, screaming for help. Police arrived once more seriously this time, but again, no one was found. The cameras, however, still recorded, and when the footage was reviewed, it showed her running past the open door toward the streetlights, while the figure remained inside, still standing, still waiting. Days later, Claire didn't return. The house remained on the market, untouched, silent. Local authorities noted nothing unusual beyond the occasional odd report from passers-by, lights flickering in the windows at night, shadows moving without source. The doorbell camera remained, its feed accessible online for a short time to curious onlookers who believed it to be a glitch. Those who watched the footage reported a chilling similarity in their descriptions. A dark, human-shaped figure standing calmly inside a house that should have been empty. And in one frame, fleeting and barely noticeable, the eyes of the figure seemed too familiar. Like they belonged to someone you knew, or worse, to yourself. Some say the house is cursed, others that the figure is not human at all, a shadow lingering from some previous tenant or a fragment of the house itself. But those who watched the doorbell footage can't deny one thing. Whatever was inside the house wasn't waiting to leave. It was waiting for someone else to arrive. And perhaps, in that moment, it doesn't matter who. The last recording before the feed went offline showed the figure slowly moving toward the camera, the porch light catching just enough detail to reveal a faint, crooked smile. Claire never returned to retrieve her belongings, and the house, now empty in the eyes of the world, continues to stand at the end of the cul-de-sac, silent, dark, patient, and alive. Some nights, locals swear they hear a doorbell ring. No one is there when they answer. But if you were to check the footage, you might notice something far more disturbing. The figure is inside, always inside, watching, waiting. And when it looks at the camera, for just a moment, the eyes might look familiar.